And so ever since the English Revolution, the German royals and the German Jewish bankers have had a close relationship, particularly in Britain, and Waddeston is a classic example of that.
Waddeston is a phenomenon in lots of ways. I mean, who would expect to find a French chateau in the middle of the English countryside? And it's very much the vision of one man, Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild, who acquired the estate in 1874 and set about creating a place in the country where he could bring friends and family to entertain them at weekends. And so Waddeston really sprung from that. But he chose Buckinghamshire because he knew the county very well. Other members of his family had already started to build the most extraordinary houses in the vicinity. In fact, Buckinghamshire was often referred to as Rothschildshire in the 19th century because so many members of the family lived here.
It was an extraordinary phenomenon because the Rothschild family, having made a lot of money in the 19th century and having come from the ghetto in Frankfurt with nothing, decided to build on a huge scale throughout Europe. Most of those houses have now gone. Waddeston remains as the one with its collections intact, in fact growing.
And out of the two world wars came the Bolshevik Revolution and the control of Russia by the Jews, and also the establishment of the State of Israel in Palestine. And of course the Germanness of the royal families was a real problem during World War I and World War II.
Buckingham Palace is slamming newly released footage showing the Queen giving a Nazi salute. The black and white film was taken more than 80 years ago, but has just been published by a British tabloid newspaper. The palace says the footage is misleading, but the Sun newspaper is unrepentant. Rachel Parkin reports.
At 89, Queen Elizabeth probably thought she was safe from scandal, until this mothballed footage released by the Sun that appears to show her aged about 7, mimicking a Nazi salute. That family in the home movie, her mother, younger sister Margaret and uncle Prince Edward, a man notorious for his right-wing sympathies. After abdicating in 1937, Edward travelled to Germany with wife Wallis Simpson, visiting Hitler at his mountain retreat. And although no Nazi salutes are seen here, swastikas and portraits of the Führer abound. That was a controversial trip, and release of the latest pictures has reportedly disappointed Buckingham Palace, a source saying they must be taken in the context of the time. No one at that time had any sense how it would evolve, they said. To imply anything else is misleading and dishonest. And then there's the curly question of how it got out.
It is possible that it came from Edward VIII's estate, the king who abdicated. When he did, he became a private individual, and much of his property may have become accessible to the public.
It's not the first time the royal family's fallen foul of Nazi symbolism. Prince Harry hit the headlines in 2005 when he wore a German uniform to a costume party. Controversy he never would have predicted his grandmother would be dealing with, though, 10 years later.
And while those controversies are bad enough, the real controversy that should make the royal family embarrassed is the death of Princess Diana.
Retired MI5 agent confesses on his deathbed, "I killed Princess Diana." An 80-year-old retired MI5 agent, John Hopkins, has made a series of astonishing confessions since he was released from a hospital in London on Wednesday, and he was told that he had weeks to live. Hopkins claims to have been involved in 23 assassinations for the British intelligence agency between 1973 and 1999, including Princess Diana. Trained as both a mechanical engineer and munitions expert, Mr. Hopkins claims he also has extensive experience of less conventional methods of inflicting death and destruction, including chemicals and poison.
I would hope my husband would go away with his lady and sort that out and leave me and the children to carry the Wales name.
Princess Diana expressed fear of British Secret Service operatives working for MI5 and MI6. Was her fear finally and conclusively proven correct?
I and many other people thought she was paranoid. Many times she'd say to me, "Look underneath the car, Paul." Is there anything unusual under there? But then we'd pull up the floorboards, looking for bugging devices. Can you see any wires? Are they hidden? Take that plug off the wall, unscrew the plug and have a look inside. Sometimes it's in the telephone, she said.
I, Charles, Prince of Wales, do become your liege man of life and limb, and of earthly worship, and faith and truth I will bear unto thee, to live and die against all manner of folks.
And so Her Majesty and the Duke of Edinburgh took their son.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Well, the enemy was my husband's department. I was a problem. What do we do with her?
In the years before Princess Diana was killed, she told many people that the British establishment was planning to eliminate her.
Oh, of course Diana was bumped off. She knew she was going to be bumped off. But she always said she's not going to make old bones.
Diana had left a note saying that she thought that somebody was going to kill her and that it would be in a car accident.
When a woman left a note saying, FYI, if I'm dead, here's how it's going to happen, and then it happens exactly like that, I think someone should pay attention.
What if this woman's name had been Diana Smith, and she'd written in a note which had been subsequently unveiled, "My husband Charles Smith wants me to die in a car accident," and subsequently she did. In any other family or in any other country, surely Charles Smith would have been called to the witness stand at the inquest into his wife's death.
I mean, here you had the guy presiding over it announcing de facto at the start, this is not a murder. Well, shouldn't that be left to the jury? Personally, I thought, odd. What would have happened in a normal case like that? You'd have waited for the jury to decide on evidence. Secondly, I thought it was very, very strange that the prime suspect from the Fayed camp, Duke of Edinburgh, was simply never called.
One of the most important parts of us coming forward is that we knew that there were no photographers. This whole group of photographers was not around the car at the time of the accident because we were there before them. So they didn't come until 2, 3, 4 minutes afterwards.
Investigations found that the driver, Henri Paul, was intoxicated at the time of the accident and that his erratic driving, along with the actions of nearby cars, caused the crash. Yet reports of his intoxication have also come into question.
One would expect there to be a heavy smell of the alcohol from the stomach during the course of the autopsy, and this was not recorded. These are the things we look for in heavy drinkers. In Henri Paul, none of that was present.
The car had previously been stolen and only recently found by the rental company who owned the car. When it was recovered, the only thing missing from the car was an onboard computer chip. This chip controlled the car's navigation, acceleration, steering and braking. Some believe the original computer chip was replaced with a doctored one that allowed remote control of the vehicle, which would easily allow for a staged crash.
And so that's all we have time to talk about in our world. And that's the end of this series of History Not Taught at School.